This Bungie layoff drama has taken a very dark twist, and we're going to jump into all of it in today's video, where we're talking about how the spotlight has been put on Bungie CEO Pete Parsons. And just as a quick disclaimer, because Bungie does have terms of service against name and shaming, the point of this video is not to name and shame Pete Parsons, the CEO of Bungie. It's instead to just simply talk about the top trending news that's on Twitter, everything that's being talked about on all the forums, which is that a lot of people are calling for Pete Parsons to step down because of a lot of things that they've discovered about him. Now, the number one biggest criticism, and the thing that was top trending today, was his exotic car collection. Now, you might think to yourself, why do we care about what the CEO of Bungie does with their own personal money, right? Well, apparently since like 2023, if you do all the math of his car collection, he's spent like something like $2.3 million or something like that. So a lot of people are like, hey, everyone else is getting hit by budget cuts and getting laid off, but obviously the CEO himself, he's doing pretty good. He's collecting a big bag and obviously spending his money that he made probably from the Sony acquisition on a lot of these crazy exotic cars that he seems to enjoy. Now, I have mixed opinions on this criticism myself personally, and I don't want to give just my entire opinion. I want you to give me your opinions down in the comments below. The first thing I say is, obviously, these Bungie devs, they get paid well. It's no secret that they get paid a lot, and especially if you own equity in a company that is sold for multiple billions of dollars, you're obviously going to get paid a lot out of that. There should be no surprises to that. Now, obviously, the big CEOs or the big, the people who have big time equity in Bungie aren't going to disclose how much money they individually made from the Sony acquisition, but that would actually be pretty crazy. That would be pretty, honestly, it'd be pretty cool to see. But we're never going to see that, all right? Because they don't want to boast about how much money they made from that. But clearly it's a lot, and a lot of people are criticizing Pete Parsons for having some crazy, wild, exotic car collection, while other people who are working really, really hard to make Destiny 2 a successful game are being laid off. And that definitely sucks to see. And that was one of the main points of criticism. Now we're going to go into a lot of the other tweets from former Bungie employees and what they had to say in regards to the situation. And so let's go ahead and jump into this. This is all just of a public matter now on Twitter. Everyone is talking about this stuff. So we have Griffin Bennett here, who is a former Bungie employee, and I believe he worked in community management, and he was laid off the first time around with the Bungie layoffs, and the second time is obviously more serious there's more layoffs this second time around. And so he literally tweets out saying Pete is a joke, and he actually ratios the Bungie tweet itself by doing this, and he goes into further roast here, and actually just gets an absurd amount of likes, way more likes than the original post. And he says right here, which is C-suite taking accountability for any of this, or still just withholding bonuses and it'll be settled in-house, or leadership has crushed one of the greatest developers of all time. Retire Pete. Wow. So he's literally calling for Pete to retire. Now, this is something that I've been very hesitant to talk about in the past, because I think that it's okay to have criticism of Bungie's decisions and things like that, but to outright call for particular Bungie devs, employees to lose their job over some of their decisions seems a bit radical, maybe a bit extreme. And so I tend to stay away from that type of dialogue in my own personal, when I talk about Bungie or try to roast Bungie, but I'm not the one saying it here. This is literally a former Bungie community manager, someone who literally worked for Bungie not too long ago. And obviously this kind of sparked the sort of powder keg of sorts, where a lot of people are talking about this, saying that, if all of these people need to be laid off, even when the final shape has been so tremendously successful, well, clearly there must be a big management issue. And maybe it's time for some new management. Maybe it's time for a new CEO of Bungie. So, I'll be putting in my application. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to pull that off. But obviously, it might be time for a new CEO of Bungie and see actually what they could do. But I don't think that we're going to see that. I don't think that Pete Parsons is going to step down. We also had him privatizing his Twitter, or what it seemed was that he privatized his Twitter for a short period of time, maybe to avoid some backlash or some criticism, but then he brought it back up to public. So I'm not sure what that was all about. If he was trying to sort of maybe hide from some of the backlash, but obviously he posted the article. He could have not put his name on it. He literally put his name directly on the main article that went live, saying, that Bungie's going in a new direction, and he put his name Pete Parsons on it and signed it at the end Pete, which, I guess he could have tried to hide behind the Destiny 2 community team or something like that. but maybe he wants all of the criticism, maybe he wants all of the heat put on him. And in that case, I mean, not that that makes good leadership or anything, because obviously, you know, he got everyone into this sticky situation in the first place, but everyone is highly focused on Pete Parsons and his failure of leadership, or at least that's what's perceived in the Destiny 2 community. We're going to talk about this next tweet here, which is from someone who's very well known, which is DMG. He is a former community manager inside Destiny 2 who left for a period of time due to some crazy harassment situation. And then he's come back, actually. Now he is the D2 community manager lead. And he actually gives this response here, which was especially crazy because he's actually not one of the people that is being laid off in this situation. So when someone literally roasts the company that they work for and still continue to work for, that's when things get really sticky, right? Because obviously, you know, you can't roast your own while you're still working for them. But we have here DMG reposting this saying, inexcusable, industry-leading talent being lost yet again, accountability falling upon the workers who have pushed the needle to deliver for our community time and time again. Please maintain focus on those who've lost their position and income and offer help where you can. So he's obviously, you know, he's saying it's inexcusable, and he was posting something else as well, talking about just having a lot of regrets and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know what's going to happen with this entire Pete Parsons situation. Obviously, I could probably go through 100 different tweets from former Bungie employees and current Bungie employees, and a lot of people are pointing the finger at Pete today. Pete is under a lot of heat right now. And I want to know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think that this really does lie on Pete? Do you think that it's time for new Bungie management? And do you think we would actually see it? Because obviously, in order to, you know, give up his position, you know, he currently has so much control and so much power over Bungie and all the decisions made. And the Final Shape was successful in a lot of ways. So it's kind of a mixed opinion here, right? It was Pete Parsons that got us Final Shape and several other successful expansions, but it's also Pete Parsons, I guess we're going to put all the blame on him, and that led us to an additional amount of layoffs coming from Bungie. And it's a massive amount. Like we mentioned before, there were more layoffs this time around than there were the initial time, which is really crazy to think about considering how successful the Final Shape was. We were kind of expecting that there wouldn't be a need for more layoffs if the Final Shape delivered. That was kind of the anticipation that was put behind this. So to see so much layoff, like to see even more layoffs even after the Final Shape was critically acclaimed. Like if you look at all the ratings, we did a video about it. We talked about the 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 ratings from every game developer, every game critic magazine and website. It's crazy to see that we've actually come to this now. And we don't have an official message from Pete yet in regards to this. He's staying quiet on this situation, but if he does bring us an update, we'll definitely bring you a video talking about it, and we'll see where we go from here. You know, what does Bungie do? Maybe we'll actually see a shakeup in upper management, and we'll see if that actually does help out the future of Bungie and their development of games. Obviously, Destiny 2 not looking good right now. Marathon especially looking shaky. Hopefully they can pull this together. And let's wrap on this news story. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on if you want to stay up to date on all things going on in Destiny 2. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.